So customer archetype graphics are all about understanding the different customer segments that you are selling to and what makes them similar and unique from each other. And how does going after one archetype differ from going after another? The internet has made it easier than ever to start a business. Succeeding on the internet, now that's another story. The big question is, what are those who are succeeding doing differently? This podcast has the answers. Hi, my name is Lisanne Murphy. I've spent the last 3 years running a successful advertising agency. I noticed with certain clients, I ran into the same problem over and over again. Their offering was just not grabbing the prospect's heart and wrestling them into purchasing submission. Why? Many of these business owners were so far down the road in their journey and so in love with their product, they forgot who they were serving, missing some essential steps along the way. So, I'm pivoting focus. Join me as I go behind the scenes with the most brilliant entrepreneur minds to demystify the nitty-gritty marketing hacks needed to be successful before spending thousands on advertising that ultimately separate the internet legends from the dreamers. On the previous episode, we heard from Laura DiBenedetto, who shared her inspiring story as an entrepreneur. It was such a pleasure to listen to. The time flew by as she shared her journey when I was doing the live interview. She also talked about her newly released book on happiness called The 6 Habits that is a total gem for entrepreneurs who don't want to miss the mark while reaching their goals. So, make sure to check that out. But stick around because coming up next, I've got a solo episode all about customer archetypes. This is part 6 of the 6-part series of Dream Traffic. And this is where, guys, the whole framework comes together. So make sure you listen in. And don't forget to grab a pen and take some notes. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix podcast. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and I've got a solo episode today about what I call dream traffic. Dream traffic is the process designed to get into the mind of your dream customers so that you can offer your product or service, creating an easy sale without hitting objections. Okay, this is a new term to most people that I've talked about, so I want to tell you about how I've discovered it. You see, in my Facebook advertising agency, I have 2 types of clients. Okay, those that churn really easily and they're struggling to find success, and then those that scale and stay with me forever. I've always been intrigued to see what makes the difference between these 2 groups. So I've been analyzing them. I've been looking at the data. And after helping 3 companies cross the 7-figure mark, spending over $500,000 in ad spend last year alone, I have seen one major pattern. Those businesses who understand their who they are speaking to on a deep psychological and behavioral level, and match their messaging in their ads and their funnel to that who, win. Now, by win, I mean they have a low cost to acquire a client, greater margins on their sales, better customers, high lifetime value of clients. They have more joy in fulfilling their products and services, and ultimately create a thriving business. Without that who, it is just like a grind. It is an uphill battle. Essentially, it's like running a business, like trying to drive a square peg through a round hole. It's frustrating and it just won't work. So what is this dream traffic process? I like to call it my 3D process. We're going to literally bring dimension to your dream customer to create dream traffic for yourself. The 3Ds are define, discover, and drive. We want to define your who, discover where they are hanging out, and decide how to drive them to your product or offering. In today's podcast, we are diving deep into one of the major aspects of our 3D model. The first D, define. Now, there are 6 major graphics to consider in the definition component of our 3D model. In the last 5 episodes, I've dove deep into each of the other graphics. Demographics, which again is all about the physical self. Psychographics, which is all about the mind and the heart of the customer. Behavioral graphics, which has to do with the buying behaviors of your customers. Offer graphics, which all have to do with your product or service and how the prospect looks at that offer. And competitor graphics. You have to analyze what else is going on in the marketplace around you and how are you going to position yourself in that marketplace. By the end of today's podcast, you'll have a deep understanding of the last graphic, which is the customer archetype graphics. All right, you ready? Let's do this thing. So customer archetype graphics are all about understanding the different customer segments that you are selling to and what makes them similar and unique from each other. And how does going after one archetype differ from going after another? You guys, this is such a big deal because whenever people talk about figuring out your dream customer, they normally think of one type of customer, one dream customer, one ideal client avatar, which is essentially singular. But there's struggles with this for a couple reasons. You see, many feel and know that their product is valuable to a wider swath of people in multiple demographics. And two, as individuals, we are multidimensional people. We are also ever evolving and moving between states of being. And so it's not natural for us to want to just categorize and just block people into one description of one customer. So here's the thing, and here's the secret. There is no need to pigeon yourself into one dream customer avatar. Oh, you should hear the angels singing now. But there is a need to identify the pigeonholes that you could fit into. Each pigeonhole is like a different customer archetype. So what matters when it comes to customer archetype graphics? There is really one main question to consider here. But I've also developed a framework to help you think about that question. If you had, and here's the question. If you had to create major buckets to place people in, what buckets would you create? When I'm working with customers in my Facebook advertising agency, whenever I ask this question, it is normally, if they've been working with customers for a while and it's not a brand new product, they know exactly who they're talking to, okay? And the big differentiators and separators for these archetypes, there's 4 things, okay? The big separators are age, experience, awareness level, and the do-it-yourself, do it with you, or done for you orientation. So I'm going to go into examples of this. So, because it's really kind of easier to understand as I go into examples. So I was working with a client who helped gym owners scale their business, okay? And when I asked him this question, I said, if you had to create major buckets to place people in, what buckets would you create? He was like, oh, this is so easy. There's 3 main groups. He said, first of all, you have the gym owners that are older, so their gym has been around for longer. They are more hands-off with their process for growth. They trust systems, but they know that they need help. They're not as technologically savvy, and they need help to scale. He said, and then you have the younger gym owners. He says they are really cocky, sometimes prideful. They believe in the hustle and doing it yourself, and they're not afraid to work long hours, and they're in a process of growing and scaling their dreams. He said, and then you have a third group, which is the gym owners that are just desperate to survive. That if they don't make a change in their gym in the next couple months, then they're going to have to close and it's going to go under. And he was like, more often than not, I can fit the people that I talk to on the phone into these 3 categories. I was like, wow, that is amazing that like he could take all of the characteristics that we talked about in the demographics, the psychographics, the behavioral graphics, the offer graphics, the competitor graphics, and he could distill it into 3 groups of people. So then we had a discussion about, all right, well, what is the easiest group to sell to? What are the people that have the greatest pain and resonate with your message and what you're trying to do? And then he went in and he talked about which group resonated the best and which one was the most easy to convert to his product or service. And that is the group that we started to run ads with. We didn't try to reach everybody, guys. We tried to reach one group at a time. And so we essentially built an entire system for each of these groups because each of these groups have different needs. All right? So notice that those archetypes had age, right? There was an older and a younger. Then there was a different one that was just desperate to survive. But age played a role. Experience played a role in that. And also the younger group wanted to do it themselves, whereas the older group wanted a done-for-you solution. So you see how all of those elements played a role in creating those archetypes. Okay, here's another example. I just started working with a client just a week ago who they are helping people become resellers of books online. And when I asked them that question, if you had to create major buckets to place people in, what buckets would you create? It took them a second to think about it, but they came up with an amazing answer. They said, well, you have the hustler, and they're normally younger, but the young hustler who's looking for a side gig, something to get out of the rat race, get out of the 9-to-5, and really reach their dreams. So then we have this older demographic. It's like we skip like a couple decades, and then we have this older demographic where they're looking at their retirement and they're realizing that what they've been putting aside just is not going to cut it. And so they need something that they can do that's easy enough, that can supplement their income so that they will be okay and they won't have to work at Walmart until they're 86 years old. Now, if you happen to be a listener and you work at Walmart and you're 86 years old, I adore you and I'm grateful for you, and I always wave to you when I am at Walmart. So I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm just saying sometimes people are worried about their fate. Then they said there's a third group. They said it's people that are just looking at people that are, they've already had some success in a side hustle, but they're looking for something that is more permanent, scalable, and that someone can walk them step by step through. So they've maybe gone to garage sales and resold some things that they found, but they don't have a system where they can generate consistent revenue. Okay. So again, with these three groups, the young hustler, the old person scared of their retirement situation, and the person who's looking for a more scalable side hustle. You see age play a role in that. You see experience in life playing a role into that. And you also see awareness level, right? The young hustler and the people who have already had some success, they are more aware of the solution that's out there that these entrepreneurs that I'm helping offer, whereas the older demographic, they might not be as aware of the solution, but they are aware of the problem. Okay, so remember, with the awareness levels, there's different levels of problem aware and solution aware, and we can go into that in another episode sometime. My last example is one from CF Design School with Catherine Jones, and if you've followed me on other podcasts, and you've heard me tell this story before, but it makes such an incredible point. So, CF Design School can apply to so many different archetypes, so many different groups of people, but they fall into two major categories. One is freelancers, and the other is funnel builders. How you talk to a freelancer, like someone who's a social media manager, a virtual assistant, a graphic designer, a web designer, is totally different than how you talk to someone who's a funnel builder, and they're either building funnels for their own business or they are creating an agency to build funnels for other people's businesses. And this was one of the main clients where I discovered this whole concept of dream traffic, because when we ran her same webinar to both of these groups of people, we saw great conversions. But when I separated them and I started running certain campaigns to funnel builders and then different campaigns to freelancers, the most incredible thing happened. The campaigns that were going to funnel builders were 4 times more expensive to acquire a customer than with freelancers. When I saw this, I was like, oh, what? This is crazy. And as I dug into her systems, I realized that her webinar was built for freelancers. Her messaging was for freelancers. So we immediately turned off the funnel builder ads and we said, we need to build a different system for funnel builders. And we just started running to freelancers, and the system has done incredibly well ever since. So those archetypes that you figure out, if you try to blend them together and market to multiple at once, it's like muddying the water, and it makes it more challenging for the customer to see clearly through that water and make the right decision to buy. Okay, without clarity, there's confusion, and with confusion, people bounce and they don't buy. So it's so important to identify these archetypes and then create individual messaging for them. Create a specific piece of content for that archetype. create a specific piece of a specific ad for that archetype, even a specific funnel for that archetype, okay? Often entrepreneurs feel more calm about identifying different archetypes because they realize that they don't have to pick just one and they aren't betraying the rest of the people that can benefit from their product or service by just choosing one. The trick is to only market to one at a time. So you need to start with the lowest hanging fruit. Okay, remember how I talked about my client where I said, which one is the easiest to sell to? And he knew immediately. Okay, what has the shortest putt? Like if we're looking at a driving range and would you rather try to get a hole-in-one at the tee or on the green? Of course, you would want to putt from the green. Okay, so this has to do with higher levels of awareness. If someone is more aware, then they are more likely to know what your product or service is about and that it could be a solution to their problem. Okay. Now, this is obviously more in depth than most people consider, but it is super, super important. So, first of all, I want to take a big cheer. We have finally made it through all the graphics. And in my next solo episode, I'm going to do an overview of all of these because I think that the dream traffic deserves it. So it's taken us a couple months to go over each of these. So I think a refresher will definitely be helpful. So, but while you're here, and by the way, we're continuing to add to the Marketing Matrix Toolbox, which has tons of free resources gathered from our podcast guests. It's updated weekly, available to you for free. Go to toolbox.themarketingmatrixpodcast.com to gain access today. We've got tools in there from Catherine Jones, Alex Elliott, Kevin Stevens, Chantel Turner, Amanda Osceoli, and so many more, guys. And also, I wanted to give you a special invitation to join my Facebook group. This group is called Facebook Ads for Coaches, Course Creators, and Lifestyle Brands, and the URL is www.facebook.com/groups/FBAdNinjas. All right, guys, it has been an absolute joy and pleasure talking with you today, and it has just been so fun diving deep into dream traffic and getting a chance to talk about this topic. This is stuff that I only talk about with my private clients, and I've really made the decision that I need to blow it out from that and get more people to get access to it, because if the first time you're hearing about these things is when you think you're ready to run traffic, it is too late. Not that you can't change and redo some things, but you have to think about these things before you start paying thousands of dollars, or else you will spend thousands of dollars on ads figuring out these lessons the hard way. So I'm trying to save you tons of time and money by going through these exercises so that when it comes time for paid ads, you are ready, rolling, and ready to rock and roll. All right, guys, so thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to, again, giving you the overview of Dream Traffic in the next solo episode. Thanks so much, and we will talk to you next time on The Marketing Matrix. Thank you for tuning in to the Marketing Matrix podcast. On our next episode, we have Seth Silvers. Seth Silvers had his first episode when we first launched this podcast, and we're super excited to have him back. Seth is a copywriting and storytelling genius. His approach to telling stories is truly unique, and he really dives into understanding the customer journey and how to tell a good story that people will resonate with. So do not miss it. But while I've got you, I wanted to remind you about the Marketing Matrix Toolbox. This resource has tons of free marketing tools to help make your marketing journey easier. We add new content to it each week, so make sure to check it out. If you still need to register for access, go to toolbox.themarketingmatrixpodcast.com. And if you want to talk about some of the resources in there and join the other conversations that are happening over in my free community all about marketing and Facebook ads, you can go check out that Facebook group. The group is called Facebook Ads for Coaches, Course Creators, and Lifestyle Brands. You can join that group by going to www.facebook.com/groups/FBAdNinjas. All right, guys, would love to see you in that group. That's it for now. See you next time on The Marketing Matrix.